Welcome to Day 23 on the Trail. We have 4 readings for today. From Luke chapter 11, verse 37 through 12:12, Genesis 38, verse 1 through 39, verse 23, the 35th Psalm, and Sirach chapter 30, verses 1 through 25. We begin today in Genesis 38 and 39. I would like to point out the striking contrast between the stories of Judah and Tamar and Joseph and Potiphar's wife. It almost seems that the Judah and Tamar story is inserted here in Genesis to highlight this very contrast. In the first story, Judah sleeps with Tamar, his daughter-in-law, believing that she is a prostitute. 3 months later, Judah hears that Tamar is pregnant. Not knowing he is the father, he sends for Tamar to execute her. However, when she arrives, Tamar reveals Judah's sin. Judah was indeed guilty, and Tamar returns Judah's staff, cord, and signet of proof. Then, in the story of Joseph and Potiphar's wife, Joseph is falsely accused of inappropriate actions with Potiphar's wife. She even steals Joseph's clothing to accuse him. When Potiphar returns, he hears of the accusations by his wife, and she extends the blame to Potiphar himself for bringing Joseph into their home. Potiphar then has Joseph thrown in prison. The real question here is, does Potiphar believe that Joseph is actually guilty? Because if a slave, especially a foreign slave, were accused of such actions, he most likely would have been executed and not simply thrown into a prison. Therefore, it is highly probable that Potiphar believes Joseph over his wife. Nevertheless, Potiphar has Joseph placed in prison. Perhaps Potiphar is simply trying to protect his wife or her reputation. But Joseph will bear the brunt of her false and unjust accusation. Nevertheless, God is with Joseph. God continues to bless him in the prison, and Joseph maintains his integrity and his trust in God through these experiences. In Luke chapter 12, I want to explore a word that might help us better understand this passage and our view of hell. In verses 4 and 5, Jesus says, "I tell you, my friends, do not fear those who kill the body, and after that can do nothing more. But I will warn you whom to fear. Fear him who, after he has killed, has authority to cast into hell. Yes, I tell you, fear him." The Greek word translated hell here is Gehenna. This is a Greek term derived from the Hebrew phrase meaning the valley of the sons of Hinnom. This was a physical place, a valley, located on the southwest side of Jerusalem. This valley had become a garbage dump by the time of Jesus, a trash heap that was continually burning. Just its physical presence was a place that you did not want to be. However, there is also a theological underpinning here. In Jeremiah chapter 7, beginning in verse 31, it says, "And they go on building the high places of Topheth, which is in the valley of the sons of Hinnom, to burn their sons and their daughters in the fire, which I did not command, nor did it come into my mind." Therefore, at one time in Jerusalem's history, the people sacrificed their children in this valley, Gehenna. So not only is it a place filled with burning rubbish, a physical place that you definitely did not want to be, but this was also a place where unimaginable sin and evil took place, where people worshipped false gods and sacrificed their own precious children. This place, this valley, with smoke rising from the fires of trash and sin, becomes a powerful image of hell. However, after painting this terrifying image of hell, Jesus turns his vision away from fear and toward hope and trust in God's mercy. Jesus says, Are not 5 sparrows sold for 2 pennies? Yet not one of them is forgotten in God's sight. But even the hairs on your head are all counted. Do not be afraid. You are of more value than many sparrows. However, our hope and help is not just in something that we look for over the horizon. Even when we face times of persecution and suffering, when we face the hells within this world, Jesus tells us, do not worry about how you are to defend yourselves or what you are to say, for the Holy Spirit will teach you at that very hour what you ought to say. Hope in God is not just set in some distant future. Instead, Jesus promises help and hope today, here and now. The Holy Spirit brings us help today, including those moments when we are facing the darkness of this world. The gift of the Holy Spirit is an indescribable blessing to encourage, guide, and strengthen us as we continue to live for Christ. Thank you for joining us today. Until next time, stay on the trail.